I would have thought in my nearly 8 years of content creation experience that I'd figure out how filming and lighting works. Apparently not. What is up, my lovely, wonderful people? Your witchy cousin here. Is this the mythical Q&A video that I've been saying I'd do for 2 years? Apparently so. I have the questions written down. I have a glass of water. My filming and lighting setup is garbage, but I have yet to find a better solution for that, so you're just gonna have to work with me here. And also, I have a tendency to ramble, so you're gonna have to work with that part too. But without further ado, let's get into some questions. Alrighty, question number 1 is sort of a combo of questions. Why did I start practicing? What drew me to witchcraft? What are some of the first topics specifically that drew me to witchcraft and paganism? In all honesty, I started witchcraft because I was on Pinterest and I saw like 3 random Pinterest pins that were all about witchcraft related topics, and my first little thought was, what fandom is this from? I legitimately thought it was some kind of fandom activity, and then I realized it wasn't, and I got very excited and I got very engaged in the material. I think some of it just started out with like life hack type of stuff and one of those like standard Pinterest pins that's like, oh, cheap witchcraft hacks, and I was like really into it and I thought that was really cool. And then yeah, but that was what drew me to it specifically. And then I went on YouTube a little bit later and I saw a witch talk compilation video for the first time and was like, oh, it's fate, this is great, I love this. I didn't even have TikTok when I saw that compilation for the first time. Alright, question number 2 is, what is your favorite part about being a witch? I'd like to say lighting stuff on fire, but I'm currently in a dorm room. I don't have that option anymore until I go back home, and then I light everything on fire that's legal to light on fire. I light candles on fire, I should specify that. I don't want to get this taken down. Alright, question number 3, how long have you been practicing? I've been practicing for just over 3 years. Question number 4, what is your craft style? Are you solitary? I am in fact solitary. I don't really have a whole lot of people nearby that I can practice with very readily. It's more difficult to find people than you'd think when you're not online. Question number 5, what areas of witchcraft are you most drawn to and enjoy doing? Tarot, crystals, spells, astrology, etc. I really do enjoy tarot. I'm not very good at it. I rely I guess relying heavily on a guidebook doesn't mean you're bad at it. I just am not very great at using my intuition and trusting my intuition. I'd say that probably crystals and herbs are my favorite parts. I really enjoy those specific areas. Question number 6, do you have any daily practices or favorite rituals to do? I'd say that veiling is probably the most consistent daily practice that I have. I mean, I wear some form of veil on a daily basis every single day, especially now that I'm at college and I have the freedom to be able to do that. Favorite rituals are mostly just anything relating to protection spells. Question number 7, what are your favorite tools? Crystals and herbs again, but especially crystals. I do a lot with crystals. Do you work with plants / herbs? What are your favorites? My favorites, I would argue that lavender is probably my favorite of plants and herbs. I also really enjoy, I don't specifically work with my prayer plants, but I do have a little prayer plant as a little devotional plant. She's great. She's a variegated rabbit's foot maranta. I very much enjoy her. Question number 9, what new part of your practice are you learning? Yeah, that's a very consistent part of the craft, is you are always learning new things. Most recently I have been learning more about baneful work, just because I did shy away from that for a very long time, because there's still a lot of stigma around it. It doesn't matter how, like, we are now trying to get against love and light as just a general everything is love and light kind of concept. There's a lot of shying away from that, but like there's still a lot of stigma surrounding baneful work, so I am trying to learn more about it. Question number 10, what are you most proud of in your practice? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I do love my jewelry setup. I'm very proud of that. I have a lot of charmed and charged jewelry. So I have a nice little setup with that involving some salt and some black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is one of my favorite crystals. 11, have you ever had a spell backfire? Yes. Enough said, I could do a whole story time about that. 12, funniest experience or mistake in witchcraft? I have a lot. I would argue that one of my more funny experiences was the time that I almost lit myself on fire. I was sealing something with a wax seal, and I was not being real careful about where I was, like, I had a little bit of herb on my fingers, and so then I went to, like, do stuff with it, and I almost lit myself on fire. We don't talk about that. 13, what gods or goddesses do you believe in? I am an omnist, so I believe that every religion has some form of truth to it, and usually in that they are seeking the divine. So, you know, I just do generally believe in all of them, but I do specifically worship Hestia, Persephone, Apollon, and Hermes. And I have a working relationship with Archangel Raphael, which is terrifying, scary, spooky. And I just covered question 14 about what deities I have relationships with. 15, have you found your patron deity? I don't really use the term patron very often, although in terms of like which deities I'm most connected with, I would say that I am most connected with Hestia, although I do, of course, I do love and give care and attention to the other three. Any favorite deities? I'm not trying to get myself smoked. 17, does your family know about you being a witch, or are you still closeted? What were people's reactions to finding out? My family knows. They're not all happy about it. I'd say most of them are not happy about it, of the family members that do know. Fun times for me. Yeah, the reactions were not real positive ones. 18, have you ever hexed or cursed someone? Yes. 19, how can I get answers from my spirit guides or deities? The best way to get answers from spirit guides and deities is usually to use some form of divination. Tarot works. You can also use a regular deck of cards as a divination deck. Pendulums are another form of divination that you can use to get answers, but that's usually for more yes or no type questions. Dice divination is actually one of my favorite things. I have a little dice as part of Hermes' altar because, you know, he is associated with things like dice games. So I have a little d20 for him, and I will roll it every once in a while too, as like a form of divining with him. That's his specific dice. 20, what has been your biggest challenge with your practice? Being able to actually have it in my household, I would argue, has been a pretty big challenge, and practicing consistently because, you know, burnout is real. Burnout is legitimate. Take care of your mental health, everyone. 21, do you feel dogma? I had to look up what dogma was when writing down these questions because I kind of forgot. Is helpful or harmful in building a practice? I think it can be somewhat helpful to start a practice, but it is very important to like give people the ability to learn how to do things on their own. I think that is very important. 22, do you have advice regarding overcoming religious conflicts or trauma healing from dogmatic social conditioning? When I learn how to fully deal with my religious trauma in a healthy way, I'll let y'all know. I'm just going for it on a day-to-day basis. We're about surviving at the moment. Religious trauma is a thing. It's a thing that you have to deal with when you've been in specific religious situations. It's very much, it's a thing. 23, can you put sigils on the walls? I don't see why not. A great way to do that actually is if you are like repainting a space, to do a sigil of the paint color that you're going to use and then paint over it, because then it's, you know, not quite as obvious. You can also, I guess you could in theory carve it, or you can do a sigil of oil on the wall. Another option would be to like draw the sigil and then make it into like a hanging artwork. That would be another option. 24, thoughts on the rule of 3. This is going to get controversial if I keep talking about it. Basically, I do not abide by it. It's not for everybody. It's important to remember that. It's not for everybody. 25, do you have any tips for witches in the broom closet who have a non-supporting fam? My primary tip is to be safe and be careful about trying to practice in a non-supporting household. I was not the safest about it. I mean, I started this channel and my mother and I have a shared camera roll, so she saw me saving TikTok clips, and she saw me the first time that I tried to film this Q&A video. She saw the clips in our recently deleted videos, and that's how everything got found out. That's why it took so long for this video to get uploaded, just by the way. I figured I should let everyone know. But my biggest tip is just to be careful, be safe, put value of your safety and your housing and just your general mental health, put that over practicing the craft. You have your entire life to practice the craft, and you're not always going to be in that non-supporting household. You'll grow up and you will have your own space and you'll be able to do things more safely, and it'll be okay. You have your entire life to practice the craft. You don't have to start right away. If you really, really want to, the easiest thing to do is to do anything involving sigils. Do things like drink tea with intention. But yeah, sigils is very nice because they can be very easily hidden, and you can just say you're doodling if someone is questionable about it, and just make your sigils very discreet. But my biggest tip is just to be careful and value your safety over practicing the craft. 26, how do I start my craft? Research the hell out of everything. Research everything you could possibly, but start with simpler things to research, like herb correspondences, crystal correspondences, astrology, protection. Research protection and cleansing and banishing. Research the practical safety things and how to perform the practical safety things. But the biggest thing you can do to start your craft is to research. 27, what do you do to help reconnect with your practice? I pick a small, pretty easy to do ritual and I just go for it. Or if I want to like break in a little bit more gently, I will do something like just do tea, or get myself a new plant and bond with the plant, or just bond with my divination tools a little bit. Just something simple and easy to ease myself back into it, because we all get a little burnt out. Sometimes you need a break from the craft, and that's okay. 28, why are most witches gay? I would say that the reason behind that is probably the religious trauma, and also if you're already kind of outside of societal norms in one sense, you're more likely to become outside of societal norms in another sense, because, you know, we're outside of societal norms here. 29, do you work with dragons or the fae? No, I'm afraid to. 30, how many books do you have and any good recommendations? I have a lot of books at this point. Not all of them are on the shelf above me, but a lot of them are on the shelf above me. My top recommendation is always going to be Spells for Change by YouTube's very own Chaotic Witch Haunt. It's an incredibly good book, as is evident by the number of little leaf sticky note tabs I have in it. Incredibly good, especially as a beginner's book. It's very useful. We don't like Scott Cunningham in general in my sphere of things. It's a little sketchy, but as an encyclopedia, the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs is very useful. In terms of spirit work, oh my gosh, I don't want those books to fall. I really like the Encyclopedia of Spirits. It's very, very useful, again, as an encyclopedia, and it has some practical recommendations for how to work with spirits. There are others that I'm a little scared to grab, but those are some good basic books. They're very useful books. And 31, what are your opinions on misinformation spread through online spaces like Witch Talk? I don't like it. I try to avoid it whenever possible. I try to avoid including misinformation things in the compilations on the compilation channel, but sometimes it sneaks in because people just, guys, fact check stuff. Please don't take me as a source for everything. Don't take Witch Talk as a source for everything. Cross-reference things. Just please use good common sense. Alrighty, well, that is the end of the questions that I have written down, and also my lighting is going away, so we gotta finish anyway. If you have any other questions that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will either do a part 2 or just answer your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. feel like subscribing and liking the video, feel free to do so, but no pressure at all. Have a wonderful day, everyone.